Now, News Talk's Henry McKean travelled to Ethiopia with Trócaire at the beginning of Lent to see where the money that you put in the Trócaire box really goes. In a three-part documentary, he looks at how irrigation and water projects are transforming the lives of people in the towns and villages of that country. Henry joins me now to talk about his experience. But first, let's take a look at Henry talking to a farmer who has seen the benefits of a canal on his, and indeed his local area's produce.
I'm having a chat with Gergis here, and she's just given me this carrot. How difficult is it to work on this land?
Before it was really difficult because we couldn't get water and we were not really harvesting the irrigation side. But after this canal has been constructed, thanks be to God that we are producing different type of fruits, different type of vegetables, and we are getting benefit out of it.
No, Henry, you're very welcome as always, and I have to say we kind of shared the Trócaire experience, and it was one of I went to Nicaragua with them about 10 years ago, and it was one of the most troubling but also enriching and thought-provoking experiences of my life. Was Ethiopia the same for you?
Absolutely, Mark. It changed my perspective on everything. I know there's water charger protesters taking place across the country, but right now in northern Ethiopia, where the famine happened something like 30 years ago, this is the anniversary around now, they're still having to walk for 20 minutes to get water, but at least they can get fresh water. Because of climate change, it's been very, very difficult. So this whole area used to be grassy and green, and it used to be beautiful, and it still is, but Trócaire are actually putting in irrigation systems, making it easier for families to actually get fresh water.
Well, of course, we forget, and we shouldn't, that Ethiopia and the famine there was what got Bob Geldof and Majur off their bums to write that song, and the whole Band-Aid the whole Band-Aid thing sprung from that. And we here in the West look at these things and we go, oh yeah, we'll throw loads of money at it, it'll be grand, and then we move on to some other area or some other tragedy. But of course, those people are still living and struggling with that.
No, they are. They're still living there, and everyone in that area has been affected in some way. And Trócaire have actually worked right through over the last 30 years, helping to build communities, keeping those communities there. And people are living on maybe €1, €2 a day. You know, we spent time on those irrigation projects. We met Mahalet, who's actually on this year's box, and I'm actually going to open up the box.
We have two of those in our home at the moment, yeah.
And these are across Ireland right now. I'm going to try and pull this box out.
We were all raised with those.
We were, but I think with everything's going on at the moment, we forget how important these boxes are. And Trócaire are actually trying to raise €8 million this year, which will actually go a long, long way. There she is there, and she's only 13, and I know that the photograph there, you can't really make her out, but she's not very big for her age because of malnutrition. She hasn't always...
She's a beautiful little girl.
And she's beautiful, and she's not smiling on the box, but we actually climbed a mountain in northern Ethiopia to meet her. It took something like 36 hours to get there, and I know she is, I suppose she's a real person, but she's a token. Trócaire are helping thousands of people, thousands of girls like her. They're not just feeding them, but they're helping their community, helping the farm, for example. They're building toilets in her local school, just small things. And just a few cents makes all the difference.
Very interesting. We talk about water. I mean, look, we are, what is it, 70–80% water. Obviously, without water, we can't live. We can go for far longer without food than we can without water. But it isn't just, you know, the survival that we require from water. Water is, in these communities, it is the future for them, because when we were in Nicaragua, we asked some people that we met in Matagalpa, what could we do to help them? And they said, build us a school.
Yes.
And the reason they wanted the school built was that they wanted to educate their children so that they could become better farmers, because if they could feed themselves, you know, give a man a fish, he has food for a day. Teach a man to fish, he can feed his family.
Yeah.
And water and irrigation, that's the basis of everything there. Once they have the water to live, but also the water to grow crops with, then they have a future.
No, absolutely. And travelling around with cameraman Luke Benson and seeing them in their schools, they were looking for pens. Something as simple as a biro costs money. And a lot of the teachers are paid very, very little. And the schools, very, very basic schools, but they're learning English, they're trying to get an education. And Mahalet here, Mahalet Ali, she wants to be a doctor when she grows up, and she gets something like 96% in her exams, in her tests. She's a very bright girl, and I think Trócaire are going to work with herself and her family until she is 18, 19.
Now you're doing, it's a 3-part documentary which will be done on radio, on News Talk, yes. But you did take a cameraman with you and on the News Talk website. And
yeah, there's loads up on newstalk.com, loads of different videos, including, for example, we went to see the bulls working in the, they were ploughing away, and there was a few issues there with the bull. The bull didn't like my red News Talk microphone and actually darted away, so not everything went to plan. And also the bees, there were killer bees as well, and these bees, if you're stung more than 10 times, you could actually die. So I got actually quite scared. So we did have great fun. It wasn't all doom and gloom. And the people are so gorgeous, so friendly, and they will do anything for you. They have so little, but they will do so much. Whereas here, we have so much, and we're miserable.
You were saying to me just before we started that it puts an awful lot of things in perspective. Number one being what real poverty is, and that people who claim to be really poor in this country, it's
we're not poor.
We're not. We're operating
poor.
on
I know I'm not going to be very
reference.
popular for saying that, but we are not poor in this country. We're a first world country. There's people around the country moaning about things. The mayor in some of these towns and villages gets €188 a month. That's his wage. We hand that out a week. Also, people in this country, there is accommodation. It might not be you might not live in the biggest house or the biggest apartment or flat, but you have food, you have accommodation, and you might have a small car. You might not have a huge, massive gaff, but you have something. There, you know, not everyone can afford shoes. People can't afford food. Let's say, for example, in your family, one of us gets sick. Then money has to be spent on medicine. Then there isn't enough money to send the kids to school. The children, Mahalat only goes to school half a day because she has to come home in the evenings, in the afternoons, to help on the farm, to help with the sheep and the cattle. So we really have it good here, and we have to remember that.
And when you consider that in those communities, that even if they do everything right, and even if they get all the help that we can give them, if the climate goes against them, if the drought lasts longer, or if there's a sandstorm or a windstorm,
climate change,
it can wipe out not just a family, but an entire community.
Well, absolutely. And there is climate change, and it's not about sending money, it's about making a difference. It's about working with the governments, with the local communities, and that's what
Okay, well, anybody who has a primary school student in the house will have at least one of these boxes, if not more, in the house. The donations have been falling off over the last couple of years.
They have.
We could give them one last push, or certainly we could help. You know, things are getting better. Maybe we can put a few extra pennies in that, and people can catch your documentary at what time?
It's going to be on Under the Covers at 8 AM on News Talk, and also on Moncrief tomorrow afternoon between 20 past 2 and 3.
Newstalk.com to actually see the footage.
As well. And also it's Trócaire.org. If you haven't got one of these boxes, you can actually get an app. So there's now a virtual box as well, Mark.
Henry, thank you very much indeed.